Just imagine. The year is 1981. The Empire Strikes Back just came out last summer, and you go to the theater to watch George Lucas's next masterpiece, starring Harrison Ford. Right in the middle of his high as Han Solo, we are introduced to a brand new hero and a whole new adventure. The beginning of it all, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Directed by Steven Spielberg, Raiders of the Lost Ark set the stage for what an adventure movie could be. It took you to exotic places and introduced a sense of scientific wonder and curiosity, all while never letting you forget the forces of evil that exist in the world and how to overcome them. Raiders of the Lost Ark was the epitome of an adventure movie and sparked such an interest in archaeology that universities across the world even saw record-high applications for archaeology programs. Raiders took the world by storm and never looked back, and from then on, the world fell in love with Indiana Jones. May 8th, 1984. The long-awaited sequel was released, this time aptly named Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Taking place before the events of Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom was a perfect representation of the world that Indiana Jones is a part of. Taking place in 1935, new technologies are being rapidly developed, all while exploration and mysteries are at an all-time high. Temple of Doom combines the mysterious elements of ancient voodoo with the very real exploration of the British-controlled country of India, and you really feel like you're part of the story. Temple of Doom delves into the balances of the greed of mankind, as well as the generosity of the human spirit. May 24th, 1989. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade is released. The third installment of this franchise explored the personal side of everyone's favorite whip-wielding archaeologist. We got to see just how he became Indiana Jones and what pushed him to explore the unexplored. We get to meet Indiana Jones's father, played by Sean Connery, and explore the relationship between Indiana and his father. The Last Crusade walks the line between magic and reality, but didn't lose sight of its holy elements. The search for the Holy Grail is a tale as old as time. It gives eternal life to those who find it, but you are cursed to guard it for eternity. The message here is that life isn't special because it lasts, it's beautiful because it ends. And it's who you choose to be part of it that makes it worth living. The perfect conclusion as they ride off into the sunset. The franchise would lay dormant for the next 19 years, until May of 2008 rolled around. The release of Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. This is where the franchise begins to take a turn. Something was off, but what was it? Well, they started off by casting Shia LaBeouf as Indiana Jones's estranged son. Fresh off of his Transformers movie, Shia LaBeouf was a hot and upcoming star, so why wouldn't they cast him, even if it didn't really fit? Crystal Skull takes place in 1957, which is a very interesting time, as it was peak Cold War. Everything with Indiana surviving that nuke, however unbelievable, is still really fun. It's just unfortunate that they couldn't keep this momentum throughout the entire movie. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull also saw a departure from the religious aspects, which are one of the key elements of Indiana Jones's adventures, from the Holy Grail to the Ark of the Covenant. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull also relied far too heavily on CGI, and by doing so, it lost a lot of its charm that made Indiana Jones so special. And throughout the franchise, it was always hinted at that there were beings beyond our level of understanding, but Kingdom of the Crystal Skull just outright shows the aliens at the end as they fly off and leaves nothing to the imagination. I think that overall, this movie is overhated, but still is a clear drop in quality when compared to the previous installments. There are some fun moments, but it still fell short as a whole. Then the franchise remained silent for another 15 years, until June 30th of 2023. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. This time directed by James Mangold, who had directed Logan and Ford v Ferrari. Indiana Jones was back, and with a new director ready to take a fresh hit at our classic hero, and for the first time, under Disney instead of Lucasfilm. Could Mangold restore the public's faith in this franchise after such a long absence? With a budget of $295 million, this is the 8th most expensive movie ever made. The movie takes place in the 1960s during during the space race, and features multiple flashbacks to Indiana Jones in the 1930s. And the flashbacks are the best part of the film. Harrison Ford is 80 by this point, but the de-aging technology used on Harrison Ford in this movie is some of the best de-aging that I've ever seen. It makes me wonder why they didn't just make a whole movie using this technology in the first place. Unfortunately for us, however, we are faced with an Indiana Jones who has been reduced to a secluded and washed-up professor who lost his son and divorced his wife. He lives in an apartment in the city and teaches a class that nobody seems interested in. This really set the tone for how this movie was going to play out. I don't know why Disney insists on reducing our beloved heroes into hermits, but I do know that it doesn't make for a good story, and it certainly doesn't bring in the numbers at the box office. Dial of Destiny does have its good moments, but it fully leaned into the magical aspects of the universe, with them literally traveling through time and back, only to have a completely uneventful and questionable ending. In short, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny overpromised and underdelivered. The film was perfectly just okay. It didn't really push any boundaries or develop the characters beyond what we had already been established. On a budget of nearly $300 million, they were perfectly capable of making something truly astonishing. And that brings us to the present. Who knows how long it'll be before we get another Indiana Jones movie? It might not even happen at all. But the real question is, how did this once mighty franchise fall so far? Well, you can sum it up to bad writing, or maybe the performances weren't as good. Maybe it's the very long absences between films, or maybe it's just simply not what people want anymore. In a world where every movie is a giant connected universe full of CGI heroes and villains, there just isn't much room for archaeologists and their adventures. And maybe kids growing up today have such high expectations for action and flashy moments that the adventures of Indiana Jones just aren't enough anymore. I really hope that's not the case, because Indiana Jones is such a staple of my childhood and millions of others around the world. The franchise certainly deserves better. My only fear is that it may be too late. Maybe it really is time to close the book on Indiana Jones and return it to the shelf from which it came. Or maybe not. What do you guys think? Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it and want more videos like it, please hit that subscribe button and check out some of my other pieces. Thank you guys all so much again for watching, and I'll see you all next time.